Moral of the story: at the heart of gold, the ecology of evil, the case of Larry Nassar, by Morgan McGee. At the heart of gold, the Larry Nassar story and the structure that protected him. The disclaimer: none of these girls deserved what happened to them. Second, everything I say will be taken out of context. Third, I do not agree with everything everyone says on my channel, particularly in the comments. Fourth, straighten yourself out, America. We're losing our freedom of expression but keeping the cussing and soul robbing porn. Why I should not make this video. Everything I say will be taken out of context. Doctors will take this as a slight against them if we question their nearness to God. No one is allowed to question doctors because they are the most pious, wise, clear-thinking people. No doctor has ever broken the Hippocratic Oath. There is no incentive strong enough to make these beautiful chosen people to betray the trust of their clients. Third, there is a certain amount of people in society that get high on disaster. They get more high on moral outrage and dramatic displays of indignation. It is the main portion of their personality. As such, they sabotage any movement towards bettering society. The three wisest men I know won't touch this topic with a 10-foot pole. Why I'm making this video? Everything I say will be taken out of context. Victim culture lives off of scalps. However, evil will slay the wicked and the foes of righteousness will be condemned. The Lord will rescue his servant. No one who takes refuge in him will be condemned. Psalms 34. And I'm going to proceed as if that is true. How can this behavior be stopped? Number three, other than stock tips, is there any wisdom that you could give your younger self if you had a time machine? 4, can anything be learned from these events, or is everything meaningless? Should we wait for our turn to become the victim? If no one is having a conversation about Dr. Larry Nassar, once he fades from our memory, will another Larry Nassar take his place? Reason 6 of why I'm making this video: I know there's great osteopaths in the world. I know what you guys do for a living. I know Boral and AT Stills. I know if the problem in the body is a mechanical problem, you need a mechanical solution. I know the difference between European and American osteopaths. Number 7, do you think the people that made that film know the difference? Do you suppose anyone who made At the Heart of Gold, or a reporter who wrote on the story, bothered studying osteopathy, the history of osteopathy, or knows anything about anatomy and physiology? On the nature of teaching, number 8, at Martha and Bella Caroli's ranch, the girls were being reported that they were being pushed into techniques they didn't know and they weren't being properly instructed in. Here's a thought idea. If nature makes you a successful at a certain task, does nature also make you bad at teaching that task? So if success comes naturally because you have the 24 different positions, if you have 20 of the 24 different positions right out of the womb and you only need to study 4 techniques, does that make you a good teacher, or does that make you a good teacher of those 4 techniques, leaving the 20 techniques by the wayside? Is my math correct? If you're a great teacher at 4 of the 24, then that only makes you a great 17% of a great teacher. So let's take this one step further. If only naturally successful people turn to teaching, what percentage of those naturally talented people will only teach to naturally talented people, leaving everyone else by the wayside? Number 9, was justice served to Larry Nassar and to all the people of the organizations which insulated Dr. Larry Nassar? And number 11, does anyone else feel like we go from crisis to crisis And no one has a conversation except for the next crisis to come on hand, and no one learns anything. That's number 11. The problem facing the fathers of these little girls. No one knows what you osteopaths actually do. I say, I saw one osteopath talking about this case on a Facebook video, saying that Dr. Larry Nassar should have worn rubber gloves and had a female nurse in the room examining these girls. That's great. No one knows what you people do. So why do you expect that someone would know the proper rules and regulations of a craft no one knows anything about? Let me give you a proof that no one knows what you guys do. Who do you think is more famous in osteopathy, Larry Nassar or A.T. Stills? Larry Nassar or Jean-Pierre Barral? Let me try to explain this to you smarties in the class. Imagine that you weren't so well studied in anatomy and physiology. You're just a simple AC mechanic who's really good at his job and is up to industrial plants in terms of your AC skills. But you're a common man, you don't know much. You know what they taught you about anatomy and physiology in high school and college, which is to say nothing. That's just how it goes, guys. And some doctor of a craft you never heard of took away the pain out of the apple of your eye, the little girl that you love the most. And while doing so, was friendly, cordial, talked about these interesting ideas you've never heard about. They never taught you in anatomy and physiology course. Bringing in stories and being cordial and just being a fantastic guy. Is there any principle that man could follow to protect the little child he loves? So one of the fathers committed suicide because he didn't believe his daughter until she was 19. I'm not allowed to self-terminate, and I have to look at these difficult topics. I cannot allow myself to look away. I cannot look away because I'm not successful. Moneyball is a wonderful story. The Blind Side is an uplifting tale, good for the whole family, but The Big Short is the writing on the wall. So before we get to the moral of the story, let's get to what is not the moral of the story. First, trust no one. That's not how you live a life. That's not how you look outside and you see cars and people going about their way. That's not how they live. You have to trust someone. So that's A. Don't trust men on any level. Well, we of the two genders are the most obsessive people who build the most things, who deal in the most ideas of abstraction. You at some point have to deal with us. You can't, it goes back to number one, don't trust anyone. Number three, read 5 books before you make one move. Well, you're not going to do that. I'm a smart guy. I'm not going to do that either. So don't yell at people that they're not educated enough. The guy that's working AC, he has all of 2 hours free time in the course of a 24 hours, and he's working like a dog. Don't blame him if he doesn't read some obscure technical manual that he can even make two judgments about. And number four, only use medication for pain and dysfunction. Now I want some of you osteopaths to push up against that. Come on now. Don't let don't don't let me get away with that one. You know it's wrong. You need to tell me how wrong it is. Okay? This is part of no one knows what you do. You have to explain this. That one was for you. That was a call for you guys to explain yourselves. I know it, but I want you to explain it. So now we come to the moral of the story. What is the structure surrounding Larry Nassar? Okay, because he's a monster, but the system itself was its own monster. He should have been regulated out of the industry a long time ago, certainly before 20 years. Number one, these are yes and no questions. Write in the comments. Did the training 8 hours a day, cutting of parental communication, and feeding the girls next to nothing at Martha and Bella Caroli's ranch contribute to the psychological suggested state suggestive state by which Larry Nassar could operate more easily. Number two, 100% of gymnasts are dealing with pain according to the documentary. Gymnastics require extreme flexibility and high torque. If there is anatomy and physiology illiteracy amongst trainers, could this lead to injury? That's a question. Number three, does pain and the cortisol release thereof make someone more susceptible to suggestions than you would otherwise be under a parasympathetic state? Number four, is training with a broken fibula abuse? Number five, is there some point just before someone is tumbling on a broken fibula when training becomes abuse? Number six, was there justice served on Larry Nassar? Number seven, was justice served to people working at the training camp at the USAG at Michigan State or on the U.S. Olympic Committee? I know people were fired, but was justice served? Number eight, did Larry Nassar want to get caught in the end? Number nine, are these the right questions? If these are not the right questions we should be asking, then please write in the comments so I can make a second video. I'm not going to contribute, I'm not going to shout your name out, okay? I'm not going to give you credit. I'm going to take the credit for myself. Just get over it. But I want to make a second video. I think there's more to learn. And quite honestly, if I was one of those fathers, I don't know if the principles I have today are enough to not be a victim or my daughter not to be a victim. And that's what's kind of scares me because this is what I do best. I deal in abstraction and I deal with principles. And I don't know if I have what it takes to believe my own daughter. If I can be fooled this way, can I also not be fooled in picking stocks and picking careers and all sorts of things? Because this was done right in front of the fathers' faces.